I Will Find You begins as a mystery surrounding the apparent murder of a child, but over the course of 8 episodes it becomes a story about family, obsession, identity, and the consequences of living a lie. While the series contains plenty of twists, prison escapes, FBI investigations, and criminal conspiracies, its emotional core is always David Burroughs' determination to find out what really happened to his son Matthew. At the start of the story, David has already spent 5 years in prison after being convicted of murdering Matthew. The evidence against him seemed overwhelming, and almost everyone accepted that the case had been solved. Everything changes when Rachel Mills shows him a photograph that appears to contain Matthew alive in the background. From that moment, the series shifts from a murder mystery into a search for the truth. Once David escapes prison, the story becomes a race against time. He's now a wanted fugitive, but finding Matthew matters more to him than clearing his own name. As he follows one lead after another, the original case slowly begins to fall apart. The witness who helped convict him admits she lied. The murder weapon was hidden by people trying to protect him. Matthew's grave is discovered to be empty. Every answer creates even more questions. What makes David an effective protagonist is that his motivation remains simple throughout the entire season. He isn't trying to expose corruption or uncover a conspiracy because he wants revenge. He simply wants to find his son. That emotional goal keeps the story grounded even when the mystery becomes increasingly complicated. The season also repeatedly tests David. He learns that people close to him have kept secrets. He discovers that trusted friends may have betrayed him. At one point, he even begins questioning whether Matthew is biologically his son. Despite all of this, his determination never changes. The series uses David to show that being a parent is about love and commitment rather than biology. One of the strengths of the season is how it constantly redirects suspicion. Early on, Nicky Fisher appears to be the obvious villain. His connection to David's family, his criminal background, and the actions of his men all make him look guilty. We are encouraged to believe that Matthew's disappearance is connected to Nicky's desire for revenge after the death of his own son. However, the deeper David investigates, the more complicated the truth becomes. The series reveals that multiple people have been lying for years. Hilda gave false testimony during the trial. Ronald lied about the bus accident that took Cheryl away from home on the night Matthew disappeared. Corrupt officials manipulated evidence. Powerful people covered up information that could have exposed the truth much earlier. These revelations reinforce one of the show's major themes. Appearances can be deceiving. Many characters initially seem guilty but are hiding different secrets, while others appear trustworthy only to reveal darker motives later. This keeps both David and us constantly questioning what's real. Although David is the main character, Rachel is just as important to the story. Without her, none of the events of the season would happen. She's the one who finds the photograph, helps David after his escape, and continues investigating even when doing so puts her life in danger. Rachel represents persistence. While many people accepted the official version of events years ago, she continues asking questions. Unlike some of the other characters, she's willing to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even when the answers become uncomfortable. Her relationship with David also becomes one of the emotional foundations of the season. While there are hints of romantic feelings between them, their partnership works primarily because they share the same goal. Both are willing to risk everything to uncover the truth. Their determination often pushes the investigation forward when everyone else seems ready to give up. The biggest revelation of the season is that Hayden is responsible for Matthew's kidnapping. This twist works because Hayden spends much of the series appearing helpful. He provides Rachel with support, helps David avoid capture, and often seems more trustworthy than many of the other characters. Looking back, however, the clues were always there. Hayden's actions are driven by obsession rather than love. He becomes convinced that Matthew is his biological son and gradually builds an entire fantasy around that belief. Instead of accepting reality, he creates a version of the world where he's justified in taking Matthew and raising him as his own. What makes Hayden interesting is that he never sees himself as a villain. In his mind, he's protecting his family. This self-deception allows him to justify increasingly terrible actions, including kidnapping, murder, and years of manipulation. By the time the truth is revealed, Hayden has become trapped by the very lie he created. The series suggests that obsession becomes dangerous when it replaces reality. Hayden stops caring about what's true and instead focuses on what he wants to believe. That ultimately leads to his downfall. If Hayden represents obsession, Gertrude Payne represents control. Throughout the season, she uses her wealth, influence, and connections to manipulate events from behind the scenes. She protects secrets, covers up crimes, and controls information whenever it threatens her interests. Gertrude believes she can manage every situation through power and manipulation. Even Hayden is treated more like a tool than a son. Rather than helping him face reality, she encourages his delusions because it allows her to maintain control. The irony is that Gertrude's downfall comes from the very person she spent years manipulating. Once Hayden learns the truth about Matthew's real parentage, he realizes that his mother has lied to him as well. In the end, the system of deception she built ends up killing her. One of the strongest themes in I Will Find You is identity. Matthew spends years living under the name Theo, completely separated from his real family. Symbolically, this represents the true cost of the kidnapping. Matthew didn't simply lose his parents. He lost his history, his name, and his sense of self. The final reunion is meaningful because it allows him to reclaim the identity that was stolen from him. Another important theme is the search for truth. Nearly every major conflict in the story exists because someone chose to hide the truth. False testimony, fake evidence, secret payments, and hidden records all contribute to David's imprisonment. The series repeatedly shows how lies can spread and grow over time, affecting countless lives. However, it also argues that the truth eventually comes out, no matter how much people try to bury it. The empty grave is one of the most important symbols in the season. A grave usually represents certainty and closure. Discovering that Matthew's coffin is empty kills that certainty. It becomes the moment when the entire case begins to unravel. The empty grave symbolizes the false narrative that everyone accepted for years. The season also explores the meaning of family. Several characters are defined by their relationships with parents or children. David never stops loving Matthew. Nikki Fisher is consumed by grief over his son. Greer and Williams work together as father and daughter, and Hayden desperately wants a family of his own. Through these relationships, the series argues that family isn't simply about biology. It's about the bonds people choose to maintain and protect. The finale finally reveals the complete truth. Years earlier, Hayden became convinced that Matthew was his son and kidnapped him. To cover up the crime, another child's body was used to fake Matthew's death, resulting in David being framed for murder. Gertrude then spent years helping protect the lie. As the truth comes out, Hayden's world begins to collapse. The final blow comes when he learns that Matthew was never his biological son. The belief that justified all of his actions turns out to be false. Unable to accept reality, Hayden desperately tries to flee with Matthew, leading to the season's final confrontation. David eventually reunites with Matthew, but the victory isn't entirely simple. Years have been lost, relationships have been damaged, and countless lives have been changed by the conspiracy. Even so, the ending remains hopeful because it gives the characters a chance to move forward. David's innocence is proven, Matthew learns who he really is, and the truth finally becomes public. At its heart, I Will Find You is a story about the difference between truth and belief. David spends the entire season searching for the truth, no matter how difficult or painful it becomes. Hayden spends the season protecting a belief that isn't true, and that belief ultimately destroys him. Through its mystery, the series explores grief, family, identity, and obsession while reminding us that lies can only be maintained for so long. No matter how carefully they're hidden, the truth will eventually find its way into the light. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.